We also have a Q&A. We do Q&A. Not as often as we used to.
Oh, we still do. We don't do as many topics.
It's true.
Because it's a weekly podcast.
We've got one.
Okay.
We've got one. And it's from Dad Ass is My Boss.
The
goat.
Q&A goat?
The Q&A goat. For the 100th episode, I asked how the retro gaming community had changed since starting the podcast. For your 200th episode, I asked how the podcast has changed the both of you. Thanks for an amazing 200 episodes, gentlemen. I think this actually dovetails it from the previous topic nicely. I feel like the thing that has changed about me the most since we've started doing the podcast, and the podcast is partially responsible for it, is I am not quite the raging ball of emotion that I used to be. I am calmer about a lot of topics, and my headspace, I can't get, and I mentioned this in some way, shape, or form during the 100th podcast. I know I did, but it is something that these are neat milestones for me to be able to look back on and see it. I'm not as angry about things anymore. I'm not as angry about how movies look. I'm not as angry about how faithful things are to the source material. And I do pull some punches these days where I might not have in the past. I still stand by things like saying that PewDiePie had a sewage pump for a heart, but I find myself not saying things like that as often as I could now. There was probably numerous opportunities for me to say something about our friend Tyler Blevins earlier today, and I didn't. I held it in.
Well, you didn't use any hyperbole.
Yes, I use less hyperbole, and I'm not as angry as I once was. And the podcast is definitely the reason for it, because especially since we moved weekly, I have to constantly look for topics and read up on topics, and we're constantly discussing things. And if I maintained that level of anger or fire over everything, I'd be dead. I'd just be far too exhausted.
Okay.
So I think that has definitely changed me.
Well, that was the podcast that did that, or are you just getting older?
No, I think partially it's the podcast. Like I said, my reason for thinking it's partially the podcast is by having to deal with topics like this every week, I've realized that I can't devote that much of my headspace to that stuff as like I used to. I can't get as. So
what you're saying is that
I can't get worked up. It's unhealthy to get that worked up. And because we're doing this so often, I've learned to just take a step back and walk away sometimes.
Just walk away. Walk away. You have your lives. Sorry, doing humongous. So when you were saying, the Ninja Turtles and how horrible it looked back whenever that was, 5-6 years ago.
It looks fucking awful, but if we covered that topic today...
You couldn't have that Ian fire.
No, and it wouldn't be remembered either, because the fire just wouldn't be there. I'd be like, this looks like shit. It's not for me. And I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't have that fire so much anymore. I didn't even think about, I don't even really think about DC movies anymore. There's barely a thought in my mind.
Not many people do.
Yes, apparently none of them do well.
Well, a couple have, but okay. All right. How's it changed me? It was important, I think. Remember, I quit my day job in July 2012. I quit it because it was killing me. And I had
It's been a while.
Oh,
God.
Set yourself up. 7.5 years ago, I quit my job. And I had that job for 6 years. I had it after I moved out here for 3 years. I had no structure in my life after I quit that job. I was depressed. I basically recovered. I had a little bit money squirreled away, but not a huge amount to live off of. And I went on, I got unemployment to help while I was trying to just sort of focus and figure out, okay, do I do this YouTube thing? What do I do? So the idea to do the podcast, when it came around, I was sort of like in my headspace again, didn't come until like the next spring, where I was like starting to really feel like myself again, because the job took a ton out of me mentally. So the podcast in some way got me back on my feet in terms of having a structure to my life again, and sort of reinvigorating me to try to do more. Because yeah, I was still doing, after I quit my job, I was doing NES Punk videos and Flea Market Madnesses and things like that. But those weren't like regular. I was doing like one a month.
Wasn't structured. There wasn't a
structure.
to it.
There wasn't a schedule, and I was still outputting them. Go back and I was doing them. I looked probably like I was half dead still. Because remember, I was doing the most prolific I ever was doing NES Punk videos was while I was working in New Jersey and here. And so I needed something to sort of like give me a shot in the arm, and the podcast I think helped that. Even if it was just something different that, hey, we did it every 2 weeks, we'll meet and we'll do it. We didn't make any money off the podcast for a year and a half.
Yeah, quite some time.
We didn't have sponsors for at least a year and a half, 2 years, and the YouTube views did not shoot up. I remember in particular, the YouTube views did not shoot up for a year and a half. They didn't start till like 2015. And I said that beginning of that year, I was like, okay, people are starting
to
watch this now. And that was a full year before the Coleco Chameleon, which was 2016. Wow, that was 4 years ago. Holy shit! So it gave me structure. It also forced me to sort of diversify, and realize that I could not just be a guy that does videos about.
It forced you to realize what Master P says when he's talking about rap noodles. You need to get yourself some product.
Yes, the CU podcast was a product in some way that was formed, even though we didn't really make money off of it for a while.
Can I buy rap noodles yet?
Anyway, I thought you were bringing it up on the screen. That's why you had it in front of you. But yeah, it was a good way to diversify. And I said to people at the time, and to this day, that I would not be on YouTube or have any sort of online presence still, potentially, if the podcast wasn't a thing. Because the NES Punk videos and Flea Market Madness at the time that wasn't getting it done.
Right.
It just wasn't. And even if we weren't making the obviously any cash off of doing the podcast, they were simple to get out, and we have a talent for doing it obviously. Otherwise people still wouldn't.
And it was a way to keep yourself going.
Yeah, keep myself busy until things started to align. Another get yourself some products occurred here and there.
Right.
And
you got yourself some products.
Got myself some products. I created some products. Yeah. There. So that's how it sort of changed me. And I think I have calmed down over the years. But I don't know if it's a podcast that did that, but versus just better mental health issues and taking care of myself and things like that. But anyway, thanks for the GOAT Q&A there.
Start small and build. Get you some product if you want to be successful. It's nothing like this New Orleans flavor creamy chicken and gumbo. You can cook it on the stove or you can put it in the microwave. Hashtag ownership. Hashtag we all we got. Hashtag icon. Hashtag best of the best. Hashtag King Kong of noodles? Okay.
So he had a great little pump me up little slogan, and then he went into shilling the noodles.
Chef Boy RP. I grew up on noodles. Now I created my own brand. Tuesday tip, think outside the box. Get you some product and expand your brand. We went from rap snacks to rap noodles. God is good. Nothing beats a failure but a try.
Okay.
Hashtag rap noodles. And I still can't buy them.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm very...
Let's control the fire right now.
Yeah, I want my fucking noodles.